Hi, I'm Heather, and I'm here with my midwife, Jennifer, today since I'm having a baby in September. And I had my first baby at home, who is now 2.5, and I loved the experience so much that I'm doing it again. But I feel like there's a lot of fear surrounding having an unmedicated home birth. So I wanted to ask Jennifer a few questions of common concerns. And thanks for talking with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
So what is your view about birth?
So, birth is a natural body function for women, and it is something that is supposed to generally be celebrated and supported and promoted, and there's not any reason for it to be considered a medical condition. There's not any reason to feel like it is the burden of a body, because this is what our bodies were designed to do.
Yeah, and I remember a few moments leading up to having Asher, like this fear overcame me, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the worst pain of my life, like, we're told this, and I remember being so scared, and then I was like, you know what, women have been doing this for centuries, and our bodies were made to do this, and it was absolutely doable, so, yes.
And I experienced that over and over and over again. In fact, a lot of times during postpartum care, we talk a lot about, so do you want to talk about your birth? How are you feeling? What was the hardest part? What was the part that most surprised you? And over and over and over again, I hear that it's not about the pain, and it's not about the intensity of the contractions. It's always about the fatigue. So we spend a lot of time.
That's exactly how it was for me.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time prenatally talking about how to battle the fatigue of labor, because over and over again, that's what I hear women say is the most challenging part.
And I love at a home birth you can eat while you're in labor, which helped me a lot with my fatigue as well.
Yes, calories, hydration, support, not only from the environmental aspect of people providing support, but also the support of your space and the support of your things and the support of what's home to you and what's relaxing to you. All of those things help preserve and reduce stress and preserve energy. So, I love that. Yeah.
So what does prenatal care look like when you come to a midwife?
So prenatal care is routine. There's some similarities to seeing an obstetrician versus a midwife, and some of those similarities are that you would come in for a prenatal visit, approximately the exact same schedule as you would with an obstetrician. It's once a month initially, and then around 28 weeks, it's every 2 weeks, and then as you get closer to the end in that last month of pregnancy, it's weekly. And I schedule every prenatal visit for an hour, and most of the time, whether you're a first-time mom or a fifth-time mom, most of the time we use that entire hour. Whether we're talking about how to juggle toddlers and newborns, or how we're talking about how to support getting more rest because you have multiple little ones, or we use part of that time to really talk about how to prepare for a newborn in your environment and how to be comfortable with the changes in your body, how to provide nourishment for a pregnancy for the first time. So regardless of where you're at in your numbers of how many times you've been pregnant, there's lots to talk about and lots to go over and lots of things that can maximize this particular pregnancy being the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Yes, and I always get so excited when I come, like I get to talk about my baby, and I feel so comfortable here. It's like a home setting, and I never feel rushed or anything, so I love that as well. What are some complications that could come up by having a home birth?
So the very nature of planning for a home birth isn't a complication and doesn't have its own specific complications. When I come as a midwife to a home in preparation for a birth, I come with 2 large duffel bags of equipment, medical equipment. a lot of times most families never even see what's in those bags. But really what is in those bags are all of the medications or herbs or equipment that would benefit us in the event of a complication. It would support us getting over that particular complication. For example, if mom is pushing and she's fatigued and she has no energy and is having trouble catching her breath in between those pushes, medical support would be things like IV fluids or perhaps some oxygen. So both of those things would be present in your home birth. Another complication would be hemorrhaging after birth, which is too much of a blood loss. Some blood loss is normal after birth. Your body's made a lot of extra blood, and so once the birth is complete, your body recognizes that it doesn't need all that extra blood. And so some blood loss is normal, but if we were to exceed what was normal, there are definitely things in my 2 big duffel bags that I bring that are going to help stop and manage a hemorrhage at home. And a lot of times those are the same exact things they have available to in a medical setting in a hospital. So things like Pitocin or Metrogen or things like running an IV if you've had a hemorrhage at home is a good idea. There are also some herbs that are good. You know, one of the things that we assess in home environment before we jump right to meds is, why are we bleeding? What's going on? Do we have a uterus that's too tired? Do we have a tear somewhere? And so we assess and evaluate that, try to resolve it, and simultaneously try to resolve the bleeding. And sometimes we can manage it with herbs and attention, and other times we do jump to medication.
Right. And I love that you have all these things available, yet I can still be in the comfort of my home. I remember my friend saying the worst part of her labor was being in the car driving, and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do that. So I love that. So what are some options that the laboring mom has for pain management when she's at home?
The most popular question.
Of course.
We're so, in our current society, we're so quick to jump to instant relief, whether it's a Tylenol or whether it's a prescription pain medication, or in the birth world, it's an epidural. That we overlook general, everyday, common things that can help us resolve pain and use as pain coping techniques. Things like nourishment and hydration, perhaps a long shower, perhaps aromatherapy, perhaps massage. Sometimes those things are a great way to counter the intensity of labor or the struggle of labor. Sometimes going into birth with an awareness of what your body's doing and why it's doing what it's doing. Sometimes just that education knowledge helps you say, okay, this is really intense, but this is probably what's happening, and this is what needs to happen for my baby to be in my arms, so I'm okay with this, I'm good with this. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go hide in the shower, or I'm gonna go have a smoothie, you know, and sometimes the knowledge of understanding what your body is trying to accomplish, it really helps with pain management. The other thing that we use a lot, especially in that really intense part of labor, the very, very end, right before mamas are ready to push out their babies, is we use water birth quite a bit. I have 4 FDA-approved water birth pools that families use, and we set them up in early labor, and it's kind of like a private birthing hot tub in the room of your choice in your home. And we've used tubs in 3rd floor efficiency apartments and literally in mansions. And so it works wherever we are. And most moms, like anybody that is fatigued or feels like the intensity that their body is feeling is just too much, they get to this place in labor, and then they sink into this hot tub to their armpits, and they're almost 100% of the time look around the room and they're like, okay, I can do this a little bit longer. I can hang in there a little bit longer. And usually within an hour or so, we're holding a baby.
Yeah. I'm excited to try a water birth this time. We'll see
Yes.
how it goes. And yeah, I think looking back to Asher, I think that was the biggest thing for me, is where my mind was at. Like when I let fear overtake me, then I felt like I couldn't do it. But as soon as I started going through, I had like written down all these positive quotes, and I kept telling myself like my body was made to do this. Then I felt so empowered and strong and confident afterwards. Like I was absolutely like, if I could do it, anyone could do it. I'm such a baby with so many things. So, yes.
And I hear and see that a lot as well. You know, I have lots of grandmas that come to me and say, I don't know, she stubs her toe and she cries, and I just
That's
don't
totally
know.
me.
I just don't know if she can do this. And yet, over and over and over again, hundreds and hundreds of babies and births later, I know that women can do it.
Yeah.
I know
It's
that
true.
they can.
Well, thank you so much. I know whenever I talk to you, I feel like so encouraged and just strong, and I know that I can do it. So thank you for talking with us.
You're welcome.